It is 452-3046. Again, 452-3046. That's our direct line number. You can also reach us via WhatsApp. That number is 284-6001, 284-6001, as well as our Facebook page. You can message in on that platform as well. A look back in time on this day. In the year 1703, Erdene incident saw Turkish army ousting Sultan Mustafa II, replacing him with his brother Ahmed III, reducing the power of the Sultan. In the year 1772, on this day, King Gustav III of Sweden completed a coup d'etat by adopting a new constitution and installing himself as an enlightened despot, ending 50 years of parliamentary rule. 1888, on this day, an American inventor by the name of William Seward Burroughs patented the adding machine. In the year 1911, on this day, the famous Mona Lisa was stolen from the Louvre Museum by Italian decorator Vincenzo Perugia, recovered in 1913, 2 years later. 1959, on this day, October the 21st, Hawaii became the 50th state of the United States. And in 1991, on this day, a conservative coup in the Soviet Union was crushed by popular resistance led by Boris Yeltsin, and that happened in just 3 days. We now head across to take in our dish of the day.
Serving now, the Daily Dish.
Welcome back to the lunchroom here on the Radio Caribbean International. We do hope that you are having a great one. And of course, later on today, we're going to be seeing the final CPL match for St. Lucia at the Darren Sammy Cricket Grounds. That is carded to start first ball from 7 o'clock. And of course, St. Lucia Kings will be going up against the Jamaica Kingsmen. It'll be perhaps a very tight competition. These two teams, they're a bit leveled in terms of wins and losses. They're third and fourth place currently. So certainly both sides are looking to try to get away with a victory in this coming match. So let's hope that there's some good crowd support, good support from the St. Lucian population as we continue to see the Kings. A bit of a newer team, a lot of faces that were there in the past not present in this current makeup of the St. Lucia Kings team. And I think today the expectation of Tim Seifert returning to play his first match for the Kings. No doubt a lot of people will be looking to see him come back on the squad and to be able to support, especially in terms of the bat. And we'll have to see how that continues to pan out for the St. Lucia Kings. Now, over in where you heard it in the news, our history of the day, the matter of statehood for Hawaii. And that's also pretty interesting because Hawaii was one of the last states to, in fact, join the United States of America. And that happened, as you heard, not too long ago. In the year 1959, Hawaii finally became a state. Prior to that, it was a U.S. territory. And then even before that, it was actually a kingdom. And it's known as the only state to have, in fact, been a kingdom before it became part of the Union of the United States of America. And 67 years on, it is, of course, also one of the smaller states, and it is not contiguous with the 48 continental states of the United States, that collection of islands. And it has had certainly a very interesting history as well, of course, being settled by individuals who came from across the Pacific, right? And the indigenous Hawaiian population, they were really Polynesian, part of a Polynesian wave of migration that, in fact, settled on those islands quite a number of years back. And so when, of course, the United States was expanding, and of course, even before that, these islands had their first contact with respect to the Europeans when we first saw, I believe, Thomas Cook coming across for the British, and in those days, I think they were known as the Sandwich Islands. But they have, in fact, been occupied for a pretty long time, way before that period. I think the suggestion is that as early as the 3rd century, you saw Polynesians coming across. And of course, those who remember the geography of Hawaii, it finds itself right in the middle of the Pacific. Very isolated part of the world. It takes a while to get out there. Of course, that journey towards statehood, as I mentioned, involved, one would say, conquest and American interests getting into the country first as missionaries, spreading Christianity to the native Hawaiian population. And later on, we saw the business interests coming forward, looking to set up estates for growing things like pineapples, and eventually taking control effectively of that island back in the 1890s or thereabouts. And I think some of you would have heard the names like King Kamehameha, and in fact, I think the last monarch there being a queen, in fact, who in fact was in charge of the island at the time. But it's now a state, and of course has been the home of the birthplace of President Obama. He is, I think, the only president to have come from Hawaii to date, interestingly enough. On the other side of things, though, of course, we saw in the Caribbean, we have not yet seen states coming out of the Caribbean. And the United States has had a number of territories which it controls in the Caribbean. Notably, of course, that of Puerto Rico, as well as the United States Virgin Islands. They got into U.S. possession through different routes. In the case of Puerto Rico, there was the Spanish-American War, and they were able to get control of that, what was formerly a Spanish colony, during that period, the turn of the 20th century, just before the turn of the 20th century, getting possession of Puerto Rico. In the case of the U.S. Virgin Islands, they came in via a different route, via purchase from the Danish kingdom. And of course, it is something that the United States is currently still hoping to be able to achieve in respect of Greenland. that has been on the cards for some time, and offers have been made for the purchase of Greenland in a similar way to how the USVI was purchased. But one can say that certainly we have seen a tremendous shift in those colonial days, the idea that you could just go out and purchase an island regardless of the people living there, and they not having any right or view as to what their fate would be. That one day they'll be under one system, and then the next day they're under a completely different system. And in some instances, even driving on different sides of the road being required of them. Of course, that's the irony in respect of the USVI. I think they still drive on the left-hand side, but they use primarily US-made vehicles. So left-hand drives on the left-hand side. So one of the quirks, of course, of these types of changes. But either way, in the case of Puerto Rico, there has been for some time a conversation regarding whether, in fact, Puerto Rico should have been a state of the United States of America, the 51st state. And there has been some interest in respect of it, and others thinking that it should be the way to go, that it would be beneficial to Puerto Rico, that it would therefore mean that Puerto Rico would now have greater political weight and political clout beyond what it has right now. And so it does not have the trappings of a state, which would then mean that you would have representatives in the House of Representatives, as well as senators, the 2 senators that each state receives. It would therefore mean that you would have now 102 senators in the Senate, in the U.S. Senate. This has been an issue of sorts over the years, and we've seen the U.S. have particular interest in respect of Puerto Rico in terms of investments over the years, especially in terms of tourism and things like the rum industry, and getting certain products that are being able to be produced within the tropical climate of Puerto Rico. But of course, we've also seen the challenges of late in terms of lack of investment in Puerto Rico and some of its infrastructure, most recently after devastating hurricanes. The rebuild process has unfortunately been quite slow in many instances, causing for issues in that country's delivery of power, for example. So it is an issue of interest because on one hand, some people want it, but on the other hand, some people say that, look, you have a country that is distinctively different, that you have a majority Spanish-speaking country. It's an island within a region of a number of independent countries. Should they not also be independent? Should they not chart their own course, like a Jamaica, like a Cuba, and so on? And that, of course, is not something that perhaps is going to be solved immediately, but it would certainly be interesting to find out some views as to why it is not a state. And so I think we do have a clip that would be interesting to share that gives a little thought as to the matter of why Puerto Rico is not a state.
I favor statehood for Puerto Rico.
That the people of Puerto Rico should have the right to determine their own political future.
When the people of Puerto Rico make a clear decision, my administration will stand by you.
It may seem that U.S. politicians support Puerto Rico's right to decide its future, and would even welcome Puerto Rico as a U.S. state, but their words have yet to turn into action. This might not be surprising, considering that when Hurricane Maria hit the island, 46% of Americans didn't know Puerto Ricans are American citizens. But they are. More Americans call Puerto Rico home than 21 U.S. states. But being a U.S. citizen in Puerto Rico is not the same as being a U.S. citizen stateside. Puerto Rico is an American Commonwealth and one of 5 inhabited U.S. territories. The island became a U.S. territory when Spain conceded colonial control after it lost the Spanish-American War. The federal government gave Puerto Ricans American citizenship, their own legislative assembly, and governor. Like other American citizens, Puerto Ricans can serve in the U.S. military and are subject to drafts. And like other American citizens, Puerto Ricans also pay most federal taxes. But unlike other citizens who face taxation, Puerto Ricans don't have federal representation. The island gets to send one politician to Congress to advocate on behalf of its residents, but they don't have a vote. This means Puerto Ricans can't vote on issues that affect the island, such as limited funding for Medicaid or food stamps, as well as a broader economic policy. And while Puerto Ricans on the island can vote in the presidential primaries, they can't vote for the president. Puerto Ricans have voted several times on their status in referendums. Early on, an ample majority of Puerto Ricans supported a commonwealth over statehood or independence.
You don't want to be a state, and you don't want to be independent. You just want to go on living in the middle.
In the middle, no. Being a commonwealth.
Puerto Ricans today are divided on the status of the island. The latest referendum shows large support for statehood, but the turnout was historically low. But no matter what polls and votes show, referendum results are non-binding because Puerto Rico can't become a state without approval from Congress. And Congress has largely ignored Puerto Rico's status. But as the island struggles to recover from Hurricane Maria, the issue is becoming harder to ignore. Puerto Rico's economy started tanking when Congress phased out tax incentives designed to attract investment to the island. Paired with fiscal mismanagement, the island's debt started to grow. To reverse Puerto Rico's financial decline, a board appointed by Congress imposed harsh austerity measures that reduced health and education spending on the island. As opportunities lessen, Puerto Ricans are relocating to mainland U.S. The population is shrinking on the island, and their political influence stateside is growing. Once permanently living in a U.S. state, Puerto Ricans can actually impact federal politics. Puerto Rican statehood advocates want 5 House representatives and 2 senators in Congress, while Commonwealth supporters are fighting for increased parity without sacrificing their national identity. But despite political efforts, it seems that Puerto Rico will continue to belong to the U.S. without really having much of a say.
That piece there from Vox, giving some sense as to the ambivalence of some individuals on the matter, but it is still up in the air. And it is, of course, is it going to be seen in our lifetime as to whether, in fact, they will finally be able to obtain statehood, if, in fact, this is what the population inevitably may want. And of course, as has been mentioned, it is these are U.S. citizens, but it is in fact going to the heart of why the United States was created in the first place. No taxation without representation. That was the call in the lead up to the American Revolution, and this is this current status, effectively, of the of Puerto Ricans, that although they are paying their taxes, they in fact do not have any kind of real serious representation in government. And so it is, of course, an issue that we will have to continue to see with the 3.2 million people living across there. And a lot of them still dependent, of course, very, very strongly dependent on their ties to the United States. You may have recalled Operation Bootstrap in the 60s and thereabouts that came in to try to provide a manufacturing base for Puerto Rico. A lot of industry was placed on the island, and up to today, I think about 2/5 of the island's GDP is in fact tied to manufacturing, tied especially to that of the United States. So it is one of, as well, we should also point out, militarily an important location for the United States in terms of its Caribbean affairs. And that need to continue projection of strength in the Caribbean was, of course, also witnessed given the recent January attack on Venezuela and, of course, the capture of Nicolas Maduro. That was thanks to a lot of military assets based in Puerto Rico who could have made that trip pretty quickly to the north coast of Venezuela, to Caracas. So it is an important strategic asset, but will it get to the point where we may very well see another state coming on board? And there have been proposals over the years, one should say, in terms of other federal systems incorporating countries in the Caribbean. Even before the whole idea of federation, one of the thoughts at that time was that many of these British colonies should be somehow subsumed into a sort of a larger dominion with Canada. Canada, of course, British dominion in the 19th century, eventually becoming independent, started off with these territories up there. But then is it unthinkable, for example, if the United States can have Hawaii and Alaska as states? Could these islands, in fact, be provinces of Canada? And that was also put out, floated at one point, that the fate and the future of these islands may very well have to be tied to a larger player in the region. As of now, primarily independent countries. These are countries of the region. And will it continue along that course? Well, we don't know. There have been efforts in the past too, where some countries, in fact, even decided not to go the route of independence. Of course, very famously, Anguilla, which was part of St. Kitts and Nevis, a tri-nation grouping. They went their own way and remained a British overseas territory. And there's still, of course, a number of these vestiges of European colonization in the region. The British Virgin Islands, the Cayman Islands, the Turks and Caicos Islands, Montserrat, and if you want to even include Bermuda, they are still British overseas territories. And of course, you also have some which are part of the Dutch overseas, well, it's not really quite called that, the Kingdom of the Netherlands, the likes of Aruba, Bonaire, Curacao, and St. Martin in that mix as well. So there has been a call for a continued effort at decolonization within the Caribbean because of this reality of so many of these countries still playing a role in the affairs of the Caribbean. And of course, let's not also forget, in the case of France, these Département d'Outre-mer, the overseas departments, which are considered to be part of France, they are also very much part of that milieu of different constitutional arrangements that exist across the Caribbean. So in a thought as to whether, in fact, there will ever be a truly unified Caribbean, or whether the Caribbean will perhaps remain in its current state with some small territories, some groupings, not necessarily all together, or whether in fact there will be maybe to some degree a more unified grouping of the Caribbean moving forward. Well, we'll have to see how a lot of those matters continue to pan out in the politics of the region. That's our dish of the day. We will be back in just a bit so we can take in our weather report.
This has been The Daily Dish.
Island style, yeah. We got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, we'll have to make the right choice. Island style, whoa. We got the time that will make you happy. Island style, oh yeah. We make your dream come alive in island style.
We have tiles and tin sets, pieces and ground. Everything you need to sort the house out. For the best price and the latest style. Take a little drive down to Island Style Car.
We got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, quality rice, service choice. It's all an Island Style.
Visit us at our showrooms in Belarus, Rodney Bay, on the John Compton Highway, Astri, and behind Ruby's Gas Station on the Library Viewfort Highway. Or call us on 450-452 or 453-TILE. Island Style Tile and Bath. When you think tile, think Island Style.
This is Radio Caribbean International. It's now time for the weather news.
And that's of course, the 1.1 is now time for your weather report as of 12 noon today, presented by Island Style Tile and Bath. The forecast for St. Lucia Valley for the next 24 hours. Winds will be blowing from the east near 18 miles per hour or 30 kilometers per hour with a few gusts. Weather fair and breezy, becoming cloudy at times with a few brief showers. The forecast for the Los Angeles, partly cloudy to cloudy with scattered light to moderate showers and an isolated thunderstorms over the southern windward islands and areas further south. Fair and breezy becoming cloudy at times. Fair and breezy becoming cloudy at times with a few showers elsewhere. With tropical weather outlook, moist and unstable conditions over the extreme southern Lesser Antilles will cause occasional cloudy periods with scattered showers and isolated thunderstorms over that area during the next 24 hours. Patches of low-level clouds drifting along the wind flow. There should be patches of low-level clouds drifting along a moderate to brisk easterly wind flow will cause a few showers over the remainder of the Lesser Antilles during the forecast period. Two tropical waves located over the central and eastern tropical Atlantic and moving westward at near 21 miles per hour or 33 kilometers per hour and 23 miles per hour or 37 kilometers per hour respectively. And this has been your weather forecast as of 12 noon today, presented by Island Style Tile and Bath.
This has been RCI's Weather News. For more information, call the Weather Hotline at 454-3452. RCI 101 number 1.
Island Style, yeah. We got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, we'll have to make the right choice. Island Style, whoa. We got the time that will make you happy. Island Style, oh yeah. We make your dream come alive in Island Style.
We have tiles and tin sets, pieces and ground. Everything you need to sort the house out. For the best price and the latest style. Take a little drive down to Island Style Car.
We got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, quality rice, service choice. It's all an Island Style.
Visit us at our showrooms in Belarus, Rodney Bay, on the John Compton Highway, Astri, and behind Ruby's Gas Station on the Library Viewfort Highway. Or call us on 450-452 or 453-TILE. Island Style Tile and Bath. When you think tile, think Island Style.
Welcome back to the Lunchroom on Radio Caribbean International. And the number to call in to tell us what's on your plates today, it is 452-3046. Again, 452-3046. And our WhatsApp number, 284-6001. 284-6001. Well, on to a few well, we got a call. Let's take a call first before we actually get into some local matters. Good afternoon. Welcome to the lunchroom. And what's on your plate today?
Good afternoon, Mr. George.
How are you doing, sir?
Not too bad.
Good.
Now, talking about those, what I find today or yesterday, America said they tightened the loose on Iran and Cuba. But it's 40 years they have that blockade on Cuba. Cuba could be a prosperous island, and they're holding
40 or 60? It's over 60 now.
It could be.
Yeah,
it's a long
remember
time.
It's 1959.
It seems they had
61.
I think Kennedy was still there when they put.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now,
Cuban Missile Crisis.
The only country that could stand to America right now is China. Now, I noticed China wants most of the island in the south.
Yeah, in the South China Sea.
Yeah.
And Southeast Asia.
They want to pick up all the islands. They pick some of them. They put everything on them.
Mm-hmm.
So in that way, I'm thinking, saying to China, I scratch your back and you scratch mine. Give back my neighbor.
Yeah, well, they both have different regions to play with. Right? The U.S. has the Western Hemisphere. And they want to be able to flex and have control and influence over this space that they're in, right? And that has always been, so the whole idea of the Monroe Doctrine, getting European influence out of that, the Latin America and the Caribbean, it's always been part of their interests. And of course, so they've not really had any mince their words about it. Certainly Trump is not mincing his words about that desire. And the same for China. China has its own sphere of influence in Asia.
I noticed Cuba. The Chinese say very little.
Yeah.
Very little when they had and they talk about communism. They are communists, and it's very little to America, and they know they are the one that can stand to America and say, "That when they don't touch it, you touch it, we're going to."
Well, and that is the point that has been driven home many a time in respect of the risk that America puts itself in, not having the moral authority to potentially defend other countries from what they may do, because they already are doing it to others as well. All right. So how can you tell China about not invading Taiwan if you're talking about potentially invading Cuba, if you're talking about potentially invading Greenland, if you're talking about potentially taking back the Panama Canal? And we've seen, of course, actions in respect of, a regime shift or leadership shift in the case of Venezuela and Nicolas Maduro. We've seen what they've done, at the behest of Israel in Iran. So the moral authority question is a major one. I mean, what can you tell the Russians about invading Ukraine when you are threatening to do something very similar to other countries that are in a similar kind of adjacency that to you, right? That's the issue with Russia. For the most part, they're saying, hey, we want to be able to have control over our neighbors. We want to be able to have control over our borders. We cannot possibly feel comfortable with NATO forces on our borders. We need some space to breathe.
Right? Yeah, but But
and that was the argument with the U.S. too, right? And Cuba, right? How can
Trump is
how can
doing
the
is
Soviet
playing
Union come into our
dangerous
backyard? Sorry.
right now because Germany is going back to make weapons. England said they're going back to make. The other one.
Sorry, I missed you, caller. What's that? You said something about England,
I
and then
said
yes,
Germany is not making weapons. And they put a lot of money in there for them to make weapons. And Japan is not making weapons. This is after the Second World War. Now they're going into weaponry. A lot of the budget goes to weapon again.
Yes, there's
so
a shift.
Trump is building a dangerous game there. And I don't know where he's going to stop. People that was living in peace and think the world was at peace and met flame the world, and the world is going to go in a dangerous. That's what he's building right now. And I'll give you one example. When we had trouble with our people in St. Lucia, under Stevenson, they said, well, they will have to stop and give the police more right to stop those criminals. And what America goes straight in and said, we bring in the Lilly law. Can you remember that?
The Leahy law, yes, certainly, about the matter of extrajudicial killings.
Look at what they do. They put all the radar in Tobago.
Right.
Helping and people.
Yeah, and of course bombing, and of course we've seen the attacks on these boats, the fisher boats.
The people.
Yeah.
Even one boat they hit, and one chap, they show you the chap swimming away from the boat. They go back and they kill him. If once you put blood in that sea there, shark will eat those people. Because in other places, after 2 days, the people float, and you could see them on the water, but not in that Caribbean water. Full of shark. And when they smell blood, they will come and devour the people. So you never find nobody floating after Trump blasts them from the sea.
Yeah, it's I mean, the way that it's going right now is very telling, and I think what we're seeing is that there are these ascending powers, right? And so no longer is it appearing to be a unipolar world. Before it was, between the United States and Europe, effectively those two players, and one might say, well, one is just a transposition of the other onto another continent. But the United States and Europe were the main players dictating, a lot of things in terms of policy, in terms of the economics of the world, right? Trade. And you're now seeing, well, China has obviously come up and come forward. You're also seeing a rising India, right? And India is going to continue to be growing in a tremendous way.
It's building up very fast, Mr. George.
Yes,
very
exactly.
fast. India is making a weapon now and selling weapons.
Yeah. So, and then you're also seeing, I mean, of course, China has been in pretty much a leader in pretty much everything now. So we knew before, of course, the big things like the ships, they were, leading the way in that respect. And then manufacturing of nearly everything you could imagine. But they've taken that manufacturing base into a completely different level.
China is the biggest population in the world.
So largest producer of food,
biggest population
largest
in the
producer,
world.
largest population. Well,
The
second largest now.
yes.
I think India has now surpassed them.
They surpassed China.
But it's still, of course, largest manufacturer in the world in global output. And then, of course, they're leading in everything that you can imagine at this point, right? So you've got that happening with respect to China. Plus now you have India, of course, rising. You now have Africa on a whole potentially going to become, in the next 50 years, a significantly larger player. And so the whole question of the resources that can come out of Africa, that's going to be something that they're going to be looking at, certainly. And then, and then of course you've got a number of other smaller players in Asia that have come, well, I say small, relatively speaking to those larger ones, but they're massive in their own rights. Indonesia, for example, has largest Muslim population in the world, over 200 million people and growing, and largest city in the world right now, most popular city, Jakarta. So you've got some significant players that are going to be coming up, and they, of course, are flexing their own muscle, and and so it's a multipolar world, and it's going to be a lot more difficult to dictate, a lot of the policies of the world. And what's also happening too, which is a big shift, and which is where the U.S. has its greatest strength right now, is in it's open checkbook, right? The U.S. dollar, it can print and print and print.
Today they were talking about the US dollar, America every second.
Right, because it is the world's reserve currency. It's the world reserve currency. So everybody wants dollars. Everybody wants to trade in dollars. But if there is that shift away from that, it then places the United States in the very same position that the United Kingdom was in, prior to the Suez Canal crisis, where it was the leading player in terms of financial services, in terms of the pound having tremendous pull. And we're seeing that it is shifting in a very spectacular way now. So who's to say? Moving on, we might have to be looking at are you going to be looking for RMBs now to be able to put your reserves in, or other currencies? You buy gold coupon. Some people might be looking at some may be looking at those other options too. So it's that general direction, of course, I think is certainly concerning for a lot of the old guard who've been holding on to power, in the world, right? And of course, where there was a clear strength was in the matter of technology, right? And the ability to leverage technology and to be at the cutting edge of a lot of things in the world. But if you now have China also playing catch up in respect of a lot of that too. Like recently, I think China has joined the big boys club of aviation. Before it was Boeing, and then the Europeans came with Airbus, and now China is introducing its own aircraft as well.
What I think with China, Mr. George, they stay in the jacket, and they don't come out from the jacket. And nothing from them. All what Trump doing, he and do something, or leave Cuba alone, or so and so. You don't have nothing.
Well, I'm certain it's a calculated decision. They're asking themselves. They also have to ask themselves how critical and important is Cuba to them, right? Is Cuba more important to the United States, or is it more important to China? And I think from China's perspective, perhaps they are looking to engage in a non-aggressive approach to the United States, certainly at this point in time. But in addition to that, as I said, if in fact you see something tremendous like a U.S. invasion or something like that, it helps the narrative for the People's Republic of China. It helps them to say, hey, well, if you can do that to the Cubans, then how about us? We can go across the streets of Taiwan and look at potentially take control of that country.
The biggest clash waiting to happen is America said they want to put boots on the ground for China if China ever crossed to Taiwan. But the the time will come when you will see China just go and take Taiwan. And if America want to square up, let them square up. Because all now so China is building a lot of weapon, aircraft carrier and everything. What they building it for? They're building it for something, Mr. George.
Defense, caller, defense.
Okay.
Defense.
Okay.
They're building it for the defense. But yeah, I mean, there are some advantages that the U.S. will always have, geographically speaking. I mean, they have access to two oceans, right? They have the Atlantic side, they have the Pacific side, and that's a major benefit to them from a military perspective. China is...
Taiwan is
China. Well, that's the problem. Taiwan is right there on the coastline. They don't have control of Taiwan.
The biggest silicon chip country in the world is Taiwan. Most of the chips going everything is built in Taiwan, and any trouble there, it will affect America as a lot of other countries.
Yeah. It's an interesting time to be alive, that's for sure.
Well, I was born just before the Second World War. The time I lived some happy times in this world. But the world starts getting very rotten, and we don't know what will happen. Good afternoon, Mr. George.
Okay, thanks very much, caller. Have a good one, and all the best there. We were just about to start on another matter, but of course, if you want to take make any calls, you can call into 452-3046 to tell us what's on your plate today. Yes, we think we're going to take another call at this time. Good afternoon. Welcome to the lunchroom. What's on your plate today?
Yes, good afternoon.
Hi, caller. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm all right. When you're speaking about the geopolitics in the region and like Puerto Rico being part of the United States, I think there's a particular insularity that afflicts islands. In that because they don't share a land border with another country, they tend to, do things in isolation. If you're an island and you have and let's say you have the same currency, then that the fact that you share a common currency tends to overcome that insularity. But if you look at what happened with England, I think Brexit occurred because England had its own currency and they were separate from the mainland Europe. So it's easy for them to have that kind of mindset, when they want to move on their own.
Yes.
So I think that affects us in the Caribbean a lot. So the other countries in their own currencies, let's say like Trinidad and Jamaica, they probably would want to probably stay on their own. But if they're part of a common currency, then they recognize the need to unite.
That has been a long-standing challenge of us. And the thing about England is that I guess it's a big enough island. It can sort of do a lot. Sorry, not England, but Britain, I should say, is they can do a fair bit on their own in terms of their isolation from Europe. But we don't have that luxury at all. There is not that buffer. And so it is... a big challenge for us, and I think there's a pressure. I think in our instance to have to do, especially for these really small islands, we've got to do more together, because that's really the only way.
Imagine if St. Lucia and St. Vincent had their own separate currencies. That would be ridiculous.
Well, we say that, but look, Barbados has a separate currency.
Well, then again, at one time they wanted to join the OECS when they have been some challenge with the currency.
That's right. And I mean, albeit though, I think when you put the economy of Barbados and the economy of the OECS, they're about the same size. I think Barbados may very well be a little bigger than ours. Still.
But wasn't to me at one time Barbados used to be part of the Eastern Caribbean currency?
Yes, it was. It was.
Yeah.
Before their independence in '66, it was was part of that, and it was part of that whole little aid. That was the whole idea of Arthur Lewis as well. Then the placement of the Cave Hill campus in Barbados was supposed to serve all, because it was all the Eastern Caribbean, right? We were all in that together. So, I mean, it's again, the idea that we create these little differences amongst ourselves, but everybody does. They don't see it. The rest of the world doesn't see it. Well, even if we even see it half the time, we're not. Most of the time, we're not even seen it by the rest of the world. So
yeah,
they just see.
And
it all as
imagine
one.
if we have the West Indies cricket team. It's successful because we take the best talent from all the islands.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, there's been talk over the years of some countries trying to break away, especially when you get lots of players from their particular country, starting on the West Indies team.
Right.
But I think that'll be a mistake to try to break up the West Indies, as a team.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, when you think about it, why should it be possible for a country of hundreds of millions of people to be able to unite? And I'm speaking of countries that are very different, like Nigeria, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Nigeria has so many different tribes.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's hundreds of languages, right? But it's one country. I'm not saying that it's a perfect country, and they've had their own internal conflicts. We've seen what's happened. Yes, but we have nowhere near the kind of divisions and ethnic differences. In comparison to a place like Nigeria.
Yeah.
And they've been able to come together. So many other places, of course, that are so much bigger than us and so much more diverse have been able to run, one, state, whether it's a federation or whatever. So I think, it's something that has been taken off the cards. Nobody's talking about it too much, but it's something that, we should consider. The alternative argument is that there's strength from a geopolitical perspective because you have 15 votes at the UN and some of these when in diplomatic circles, of course, when you have all of this bartering for certain things and what have you, you've got a little weight there, but you have to weigh that and the strength of that against what could potentially be the benefits of coming together as a single political entity. Yeah. Okay, thanks very much for that, caller. Have a good one. And of course, it was an attempt. There was an attempt back in the 50s and 60s with the Federation, and we know how that went. But one would think, 65 years on, we should be a little bit more mature. We should be able to see with a lot more resources available for how our islands can be connected and interconnected, and the fact that you need so much cooperation, whether it's on every matter you can imagine, logistics, transport, energy, trade, tourism, administration, telecoms. There's so much that one would think could potentially be better if, in fact, you have some efforts as bringing things together. But of course, even with that, you still will have to perhaps have some preservation of local government in the respective islands and territories. To be able to plan. But could you just imagine that if you're planning an entire archipelago instead of all of these divisions, the math becomes different, the spaces become different, our issues of freedom of movement, a lot of other opportunities now begin to open up. You will no longer be thinking of yourself as just merely a St. Lucian. You're now thinking of yourself as whether it's a Caribbean person, a West Indian, who has the entire space of the Caribbean to, in fact, roam and develop. That's our program today here at the Lunchroom on Radio Caribbean International. Of course, we do hope that you have a very good and blessed weekend. And, of course, hopefully we can see some success at the Darren Simon Cricket Ground tonight with the St. Lucia Kings going up for their last match here in St. Lucia. So hope they have a good one. Take care.
this. When me look and she walk on, I feel bun this. Man and woman now dance, what kind of club this? See them a turn up and dance with phone in them face.
Them put done that. Do nobody mash up with dance, how fun that. Too much of we youths, them end up in a dunker. Tired fi see man fire shot over who want run the place.
From me now go dance, me now go nowhere. No, nothing else in this world I'd rather do.
As soon as we select a drop,
this tune them a fly a shell the whole place.
Nobody now the dance now have no screw. Fierce
dance all alone and give me pure good vibes. Nice.
I grade about a lick up on ice.
Money pull up the one you have to play twice.
Dance all alone, game of fun.
Good vibes.
After set a girl them in a me section, them a bubble. Cause you want a white steak, the back to pour a double. Next on of the place, I look a girl, no want a trouble. Chopper them a flask, conscious seller them a juggle. A beer woman a pop up on the dance floor. I wind up till them close wet and still them want more. So now get ready for rise and liquor still a pour. When dance nice, everybody a pay out a door.
As soon as we select a drop,
bass, tune them a fly a shell the whole place.
Nobody now the dance now have no screw. Fierce
dance all alone and give it pure good vibes.
Nice.
I grade about a lick up on ice.
Money pull up the one you have to play twice.
Dance all alone, game of fun. No nice like dance all. No nice. No nice like dance all. No nice.
From me now go dance, me now go nowhere. No.
Nothing else out the road me rather do. No nice like dance all. No nice. No nice like dance all. No nice.
Like dance all, yeah. world come. Alright, no one know how the world around. Have mercy. Have mercy. Somebody please tell me.